What's up, guys? Hope all of you are doing well today. In this video, we'll be taking a look at fractions. I'll be introducing them to you, and then throughout the rest of the week, I'll be posting more videos about the types of fractions, operations with them, simplifying fractions, equivalent fractions. But before we get to simplifying, we'll look at something called factors, greatest common factor, multiple, and lowest common multiple, because we need to know that before getting into simplifying and operations with them. So before we get into that, let me give you a brief definition of fractions. So fractions are defined or are described as a number that represents the number of equal parts in a whole or a collection of things. So number of equal parts in a whole, for example, we could say whole meaning food items. It could be it could be a loaf of bread where each slice would represent a fraction of the entire loaf, for example. Or we could consider an apple pie. Let's just say this is an apple pie. It's divided equally into 4 parts, one for you, one for your mom, one for your dad, and maybe one for your elder or younger sibling, for example. So that's so each slice of pie would be considered as a fraction of that entire or of the whole pie itself. So that's for whole. And then for a collection of things, you could say books. So you have a collection of books at home, and each book, so one book would be considered as a fraction of that entire collection of books. Not just one, you could say just if you had 12 books, 3 of those 12 books are from this author. That 3 over 12 books would be just considered as a fraction as well. So that's an example of fractions. And we use fractions a lot in our day-to-day lives, like even when you're baking, for example, maybe when your parents are baking, like they're baking cake, for example, and they need to know how much sugar to put. So the recipe book might say you need 1.5 cups of sugar. So there, I said 1.5 cups of sugar. That's a perfect example of fractions. So that's how we use fractions in our day-to-day lives. So now we'll take a look at the parts of a fraction. So I've already sort of wrote it down here, so I'll just explain to you. So fraction consists of 3 parts. There will be a top number, a line in between called the fraction bar, and then there's a bottom number. So top number is called a numerator. So the numerator is the number of equal parts in a whole or a collection of things, as I explained earlier, that are taken or are being considered based on what the question is asking you. And the number in the middle, I didn't write it down here, but it's just called the fraction bar. Sorry, not the number in the middle, sorry. The line in the middle is just called, the horizontal line in the middle is called a fraction bar. And that is just there to show the distinction or the difference between the top number and the bottom number. And to just, just to show the distinction between the numerator and denominator. To show that both of those numbers are not the same. And they represent totally different things. So just as a line to just separate the numerator and the denominator, if you want me to put it that way. So the denominator is the total number of equal parts in a whole or a collection. So for example, we'll take the apple pie we looked at earlier. So we have an apple pie. We divided it into 4 slices. So total number of equal parts. So assuming that, although the drawing doesn't look like that, assuming that I divided or I split the pie into 4 equal slices, our denominator would be 4 because we have 4. The total number of slices is 4. So that's why I put my denominator as 4, and you would see that it matches my definition here as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's why I put 4. So now we'll take a look at the numerator. So numerator vary based on what you are trying to consider, or what the question is asking you, or just how much has been taken. So here, for example, let's just say you take 1 slice of pie. If you take 1 slice of pie and the question or someone asks you, how many slices of pie are gone or are no more or have been eaten by someone or have been taken by someone, for example. So if the question asks you that, or if someone asks you that, you would think, what are you trying to consider here? How many slices of pie are gone or no more? So you know that you took one and that your mom, dad, and brother didn't take one at all. So you would leave that there. You would leave that and you would count one. So that's what you're trying to consider. One slice has been gone. So your numerator would be 1. And then, for example, let's just say that your mom also eats that slice. So the denominator would stay the same, since we're dealing with the same question, and the number of equal parts, the number of slices are still the same. But if the number of slices were different, like for example, instead of 4, it was 8, then the denominator would also change. It would be 8 as well. So you know that your mom ate that slice of pie. So instead of 1, now, since you're considering how much slices of pie are gone, or how much, or what fraction of the pie has been taken already by someone, it would be 2 over 4. But later on in the series, you'll know that 2 over 4 is just equal to a half. So half of the pie has already been taken by the family. We will get to that in another video for sure. I'll definitely explain it to you. So that's an example of fractions, how the parts to it as well. And also, it doesn't always have to be a loaf of bread or a slice of pie. You could just say, I drew some marbles here, for example. So you have 5 marbles here. Like, that's why I meant a collection of things as well. Collection of things or people as well. So for example, we have 5 marbles here. I just colored 3 of them blue, and 2 of them are not blue, just to show the distinction, I guess. So let's just say you're trying to consider what fraction of the marbles of the collection of marbles are blue. So that's the question. Let me just erase this here so we got more space. So what fraction of the marbles are blue? So you know, total number of equal parts. You can also sort of rephrase or reword that into total number of marbles, because each marble would be considered an equal part to the entire collection of marbles we have here. So total number of marbles. So equal parts would be replaced into marbles for this one. And then for this one, total number of equal parts, total number of slices, or total number of equal slices would also work, just so you guys understand it better. So in this case, we'll draw a fraction bar here. So how many marbles are here that are blue, kinds of colored blue? So we know that the total number of marbles here are 5. So 5 would be our denominator. And then how many are colored blue? So how many are we considering here? 1, 2, 3. So 3 out of 5 marbles, or 3/5 of marbles, are blue. And then if you're trying to consider how many are not blue, or how many marbles are from a different color, then that would change. The denominator would still stay the same no matter what. But now the numerator will change, and instead of 3, you will have 2/5, or 2 over 5 marbles are from a different color. So that's a brief introduction of fractions to you. So I've defined it for you. I've explained the parts to it. I've shown you 2 examples. So that's pretty much it for the introduction video. In the next video, we'll be taking a look at the types of fractions, from proper fractions, unit fractions, improper fractions, and mixed number fractions. And we'll go from there. So thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you found it helpful. And if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to leave a question in the comments, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. So once again, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and we will meet again in the next one. Thank you.